G'day guys, my name's Joseph from Professional CAD Systems. We're the New Zealand reseller of Peel 3D. And today we're going to talk about how to install the Peel.os software, as well as take you through how to get started with the Peel 3. So first things first, we need to visit careerform3d.com because we need to create an account on Careerform's Customer Center. So you have to go again to careerform3d.com. Next, click on Customer Center, and then it will launch the Customer Center. If you're a new user, which you most likely will be, you need to click on New User. And here you just fill out your personal details, but most importantly, you use the serial number of the scanner to register for the Customer Center. And usually this is approved in 1 to 2 days. So once you've done that, we can then easily just sign in. So use your email and password to sign in. Next, you can go to Products. And under the Products, you can then search for your PL3. You'll most likely only have one scanner here available. So I've got my PL3 available here. And under the software title, I can go down and find the PL3 exe to download. So to save time, I've already downloaded the software. So if we're looking at my desktop, I've got the exe file right on the desktop. So it's a typical install, just double click on it, select yes to continue, select OK to install the software. And this will just extract the contents, go to the next button, install it, and just let it do its thing. After you finish installing, we can now just check that we want it to allow the Peel.os to configure our system, and also we want to use, we want to tick download the Peel CAD help. So if we go finish, it will now launch the Peel.os software. Okay, so the next thing to do is to sign into the online services within the Peel.os software. To do that, you need to click on this little globe in the top right corner and then select Connect. You will need to hit Connect, enter in your email and password, and then I'd recommend remembering your password, select OK, and just give it some time to connect. Once connected, you'll see that the Peel.CAD software is available. So this is a scan to CAD module that can be purchased either at the point of sale or after purchasing your Peel 3. And if you have a Peel.CAD license, signing into the software is how you license it. So I can see here I've got one of one license available. If I want to check it out to work offline, I can click on that and that will just pull it off the cloud for 30 days so you can use it without an internet connection. And after 30 days, it will just automatically release back to the software, or you can click release yourself. And we're now all signed in. So it's the best way to ensure that everything is up and running. You'll see any updates that might come through since you're connected to the online services. So next, let's look at plugging in the scanner itself. So here's the PL3 in the rugged box, or the rugged case. So the rugged case is an optional extra. It comes in a foam case initially, so it's optional to add the rugged case. Also, the protective kit is optional extra as well. It's just a silicon sleeve with a faceplate that just covers the lenses. So it could be quite good value to protect your scanner. So we'll just grab out the cables that we need. Switch that there for a second. And we'll also grab the calibration plate. So the calibration plate typically resides in the box. You do the calibration here within the box, and we can put it into different orientations. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to take it out completely and calibrate the scanner on my bench. So first, we will grab the USB cable and try not to touch the plate. You do not want anything to scratch or mark it, so that was a bit of a no-no that I should have tried to avoid, but I'd only just touched it. So we're going to go ahead and just plug in the scanner. So the USB in obviously goes into the computer, and we need to plug in the power. So it's just a generic power supply. So the power just goes around into the laptop and it plugs into the USB cable. So there's two little white arrows. You can't really see it on the video, but the two little white arrows line up and just gently push them together. You don't need to be forceful. Once that's plugged in, we can then go ahead and plug it into the scanner itself. So just line up the ports, and the little white arrow will point forward on the scanner. Once you plug in correctly, you'll soon hear the scanner start and the little LCD on the back lightens up. So we're now going to do a scan. So we're going to scan a little motorcycle part. So this will just give you a good example of what the PL3 can do. So we go and click on New Scan. So as soon as you go to New Scan, the software will ask you what size is the object. So looking at the part I've just shown you, it's a small object. And as you hover over each of the options, small, medium, or large, it will give you a little thumbnail describing how large it would classify a large object, for example. So I'm going to select small. The detail I want is fine. I want kind of fine resolution. I don't need super fine resolution. I think fine is good. I want a balanced output. I'm usually quite happy with that output. And I don't need to capture color for this particular part. If I come down here and hover over this button, I can click on advanced parameters. And you can see as soon as I change the resolution, it goes to custom. Okay. Another thing as well with the Peel 3D scanners and Creaforms is that we have a thing called smart resolution. So even though we have 1mm resolution set, it will actually capture a higher resolution as well. So typically standard's about 50% greater, and high smart resolution is about 75% greater resolution. And so in some of the flat areas of this part, there'll be larger triangles, and in the sharper edges, there'll be about 0.5mm resolution. Okay, so we can now go next. And usually, the software will ask you to calibrate no matter what. So you can skip it, like I can skip this calibration because I recently did one, but sometimes you'll be just forced to calibrate, which is a good thing. That will ensure that the part that you scan is scanned accurately. So we can now pick up the scanner It's hard to see, but on the back of the scanner, we've got a little play button. We've got some zooming in and out buttons. We've got another button that you can press that will just change the environment, or sorry, the shutter speed of the scanner to suit the part that you're scanning. So whether it's a dark object, a light object, or just automatic. And we have another button that just kind of calculates your view to fit it within the 3D space. So I'm now going to hover over top of the calibration plate and press the play button. I like to just try and line up the circle and the lines first. And once I've done that, then I can just go up and away from the plate. And if it was in the box, it asks you to tilt the plate over, but it's so simple just to roll over, line it all up again, and just go down a bit closer and then away. And then the same again, rotate your view, just line up the circle and the lines, and then just come straight up from the plate. Okay, so it's very simple to calibrate and a really great idea to ensure that your scanner's performance is really good. And I always put the calibration plate right back into the box to ensure that it's kept nice and safe. So next, I'm just going to use this little turntable. It's just a very manual turntable with a few targets on it. Great for small parts. If you've got a part that you're scanning, or a car, for example, just put the targets on the car, and it will ensure that if the car moves, the scanner's going to track any movement. So we just place the part onto the onto the manual turntable. The scan session's already started, so it's just a matter of pressing play on the back of the scanner to get started. So I'm just going to hold it over top of it, press play, and it just starts to scan. And instantly it's already adjusted the shutter speed to the part, and we can now spin the manual turntable around and just capture it from all angles. And just remember, you've got zoom on the back of the scanner. So you can just magnify the view. It's really useful to know if you're capturing all the data. The other really nice thing about the PL3 is that it has haptic feedback. So if I'm too close, where the white lines on the part go red, it vibrates at me. It tells me it's lost track. If I go too far away, it also vibrates in my hand. So I know that, it's trying to indicate to me you're a little bit too close or too far. Adjust your position. And the other really nice thing is that I can go over and over the part as many times as I like, and it will only ever create a singular surface mesh, which is really useful. I don't have to deal with a point cloud. I don't have multiple scans to then merge together later. I will only have a few scans, or even just for this part, 2 scans to work with. And like I said with the car, we can scan in one continuous scan if you like, but the small part guided workflow is really useful for capturing this part. So I think I've got everything in all the angles and all the directions, so I can just pause it, put down the scanner, and take a look. So I think, yeah, it's done a really nice job of most areas. I'm really happy with that. So let's go to the next button, and let's just drag that up. So that's looking good. And now I can just press continue. If it automatically finds a plane or a table on a scan that you don't want to use a cutting plane, you can just hit cancel and then just delete any triangles you want. But in this case, it's really useful. I'm going to use that table to create that clipping plane and delete what I don't actually need. Next, you can see by default, the selection tool is called the Connect Select tool. If we hover on that, it should say Connect Select. And I can then hold Control on my keyboard, click on what I want to keep, Then we have a tool called Keep Only, which basically keeps only what's selected. So we'll just select that and continue. So it leaves us just with one half of the part. Next, we need to click on Add a Scan. And that will generate a new scan. And this part kind of wobbles on the manual turntable, so you don't want that. So a simple fix is just to put something out under one end of it, just so that when I spin the turntable, it doesn't move. Again, you pick up the scanner, press the play button again, and then you can zoom in again right at the beginning this time, and just work your way around it. So the more perpendicular you are to a surface, the easier it is, or the better it will capture that surface. So try and just think of that when you're scanning. And just keep going over and over it until you think you've got everything you need. So I can really zoom in there and just make sure I'm happy with the results. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So again, we just go to the next button, pull up our clipping plane just to get rid of that table, continue, and then do the connect select again, control click, and keep only again, just to keep only what's selected. You can then have a look and see if you're happy with the data. So we're missing a little bit there, and we've got a little bit of extra data there. So I can change my selection tool to lasso. I could then change my selection parameters to select through, so that I can select through and grab just that data there. And then you can just simply click on the delete button. So we've got a bit of a hole here. We needed to probably spend a bit more time in some areas. So we can go and just hit the play button again, basically. So if we just go press play on the back of the scanner. Actually, sorry, I do need to go back one step. So you just go back to scan. It starts the scan again, and then you can resume. And it finds where to go straight away. So it's just about getting the right angles to make sure that you've got the part in all the right direction. And so I'm just trying to get into this space down here. And with the right angle, I should be able to get into there. And just get a little bit more side on. Okay. Happy with that now. Pause again, and then go to the next screen again. And you just need to simply just, crop away the table again. Continue. Connect select, control click, and then keep only what's selected. So it's quite nice that you can go back in time and just essentially add more to your scan. You can also go right back to the beginning, and you can actually change the resolution as well. So it's quite cool, because sometimes, you've gone somewhere, you've done a scan, you get back to the office and you realize, well, hang on, I actually need more resolution. You can just go back in time, reconfigure the parameters, and generate a new mesh with higher resolution. So I'm just looking through the scan data and just making sure that I've got nothing too obvious that stands out. If, for example, this area here is a bit of a problem, I can just also just after selecting it with the lasso tool, click on grow selection and just take out a little bit more and then hit delete on my keyboard and then continue. So at this point here, you can have a look at your scan and realize, yep, I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to go next. And at this point here, it's actually automatically gone ahead and found the common geometry between the two. If it didn't, you could then pick a few common points and do an alignment, surface best fit alignment to align the two, but usually it's quite automatic. Actually, let me just show you a manual alignment just so you can see how to do it in case you need to. So if it ever comes up like this where it's in two halves, you simply just click maybe this part here and you repeat the same on the other part or the other half. And then another common point over here and here, flick it around and maybe we do one more here and one more here. And it's automatically now done a surface best fit. You can press OK and just kind of observe what you've done. If it looks good and you're happy, you can either add another scan at this point if you need to scan it more, if there's too much missing information. So you'd then have a third scan, or go next to finalize and merge the scan. So this just brings it all together as one clean mesh. Okay, and now after the merging, it's finalizing. So it's finalizing that mesh. I'm going to give us a singular STL mesh or OBJ, a polygon mesh. What I quite like about the software is that it's very straightforward, the workflow. It also saves incrementally as you go through each step. So here's the result. As you can see, it's very nice and clean. The little lumps here are definitely a part of this part. So I'm very happy with the result. So we do have some alignment tools within the software as well. So I could say, well, I want to constrain my XZ plane. And I could select this plane by holding Control. And it's now fitted onto that. I could then say I want to align, let's say, the y-axis. Oh, sorry, I needed to select Control and then I needed to select the plane and then lock it before I could go and do another entity. So next I want to align, let's say the y-axis, and it will say, would you like to select a cylinder? So we can now go over to here and go Control, click, and it's automatically selected that cylinder. And then I can select lock. And then the only last degree of freedom is just the rotation here. So we could put a plane on the end, and we could say that's, let's say, the red plane, hold Control, click, and lock that. And actually there's one more plane we can add to completely lock this up. And we could just say blue plane and this plane here. So it goes ahead and just locks all the degrees of freedom, and it's now aligned to a coordinate system. So I'm quite happy with that now. And the next thing I can do is go to the next improve window. So if you purchase just the PL3, you get the PLOS software, everything you've seen here. You get the mesh editing tools that are built into the software here as well. So if I click on fill holes, it will show me in blue if there's any holes floating around, and I can just click on those and fill in those holes. If I click, I can do holes at a time. I can also just do partial fills. So for example, over here, I could switch to a partial fill, click one point, click the second point, and then you just choose which half of the hole to fill. and then you can then switch to hole fill and finish filling that in. Maybe you want to bridge between one half of the hole to the other. I could select the bridge tool, and you select 2 points and then the middle section, and then another 2 points and the middle section, and it will just fill in between those. I probably, thinking about it, if I go undo, I probably should have selected flat fill and then did it. So 1, 2, and then the middle, 1, 2, then the middle, and it just did a flat fill up. Then turn off flat fill and go back to hole fill, and then I can just continue on cleaning up the rest of the holes. So it did a really nice job getting into that hard to reach area. And you've also got the slider. So if you drag the slider, it's going to find the holes from smallest to largest and just pick those up. But just be aware that maybe you want to be careful you don't just accidentally fill in a hole that you actually want to keep. But it will go smallest to largest, preview, and if you're happy, you can then obviously press OK, or just keep hole filling. All right, so now after doing that, I can go ahead and press OK. And we have a button which is called Clean Mesh, which is really useful for just finding irregularities in your mesh. It goes ahead and removes some spikes, and just optimizes it for you. One other thing we can do is we can do a smooth mesh. Sorry, we can do a smooth, and if we click on that, we can just do like a quick smooth and just see what that looks like. And it just goes ahead and takes away a lot of the bumps and lumps. But just be aware that, you know, that might take away some details that you actually want. The other option with the smooth, when you click on that, is I could turn on just sandpaper mode. And if there's a specific area where it's a bit lumpy, I could go into there and hold control and just go ahead and just fix that up. But it really depends on what you're doing. If you're reverse engineering this, you may not bother with this. Or if you're maybe just designing a part that's going to fit this part, and you're just going to use it as a reference, then maybe again, yeah, you don't worry too much about that. But for the tutorial's sake, let's just say we put that on to quite low, maybe like 15, quick smooth. And that's just improved it a bit. Or maybe a little bit higher up, quick smooth. And then okay. So after this point here, if you're happy with your scan, we can go next. And if you have another piece of CAD software like Fusion, for example, you can just export the mesh straight to STL by clicking on the button here. Or if you do have peel.cad, we can export to the peel.cad software. So you click on export, and I'm just going to save it to the desktop. And we're just saving not only the scan session, but we're also then putting it into the peel.cad software. So we can open up that scan session again. We can change resolution later if we want to. We can do some more editing in there if we wanted to. But now that it's in the peel.cad software, we've got more tools to work with for optimizing the mesh, extracting information to get it into CAD. So we're going to save the session here and end the tutorial. And the next part will be how to use peel.cad. So we'll just call this a peel demo. And we can save that data. So stay tuned, and we'll get into peel.cad in the next tutorial.